And welcome, Raise Your Inner Game Today. I'm David Levin. This is our Friday episode, so we're talking all things inner game. Tuesdays are for sports and sports parenting. Fridays are for everything and everyone, and that includes you. So how are you today? How are things with your inner game? You feeling good, I hope? Maybe stressed out, worried? It happens. What's going on for you? For me, pretty darned good. Still healthy, knock wood. Had the 4th this week. That was fun. Feeling a little swamped still with work, but manageable and exciting, so that's great. Overall, really loving life right now. Feeling very fortunate and grateful, which is sort of the best, right? So, some things to talk about today. My ups and downs for the week. An interesting perspective shift on the things we think we need versus what we really need. How to find meaning and purpose in our lives. Talk about some food safety and health eating ideas, our weekly challenge, and some new recommended items for the week. So I'll start with ups and downs. What things were lifting me up this past week and what things were pulling me down. In the ups column for me, it has to be our 4th of July get together. We had some family rent a beautiful cabin in our area this past week, about a half hour away. More extended family than our core group, but we still love to see them when we can. So we went out there on the 4th and just had a great time. Honestly, I didn't want to go at all. Probably not a surprise there. My choice would have been to work all day and just see some fireworks at night. But I shifted gears, got into the mood, and it was lovely. They have younger kids, like from 4 to 8, or 3 little kids there. Not that little, but you know what I mean. And that added a lot of fun that I don't get as much access to anymore, especially the 4-year-old. She's just incredible. There's a nice swimming pond at the cabin, hung out down there. That was nice, got in there, splashed around a little bit. I also get a lot of enjoyment, just watching other people having fun. I'm not a big swimmer myself, but I really enjoy just sitting there, watching everyone else playing around in the pond. That sounds like sort of an old guy thing, but that's all right. It was nice. And then we did get back in time for fireworks. I always like those. So just great all around. And then, of course, the next day, back to work, which is my favorite thing, pretty much. For my downs this week, the big one is not having Coke Zero. Man, I've been talking about that for years, 10 years, 15, it just seems like forever. My Coca-Cola addiction. And it took a hit this week. Actually, I think about it, it's more like, I was talking about that back in the book too, like 20, anyway, 30 years, geez. It took a hit this week with the news that the WHO is about to declare that aspartame is a possible carcinogen. Oh boy. So I lost a bunch of weight last year, like over 20 pounds, and a big part of my program in doing that was using Coke Zero as an appetite suppressant. So, I've been keeping things in check before then, or at least trying to, now and then. But at that point, I was all in. So it's been like 2 to 4 cans a day for well over a year straight, I would say. And that's not great, for sure, but it also didn't seem really bad either, just mostly bad because I was addicted to something. But now, if it actually causes cancer, that changes things quite a bit. Like my kids are worried about me now. Now, to be fair, it turns out that the WHO report didn't mention what amount was dangerous, which is an important detail. That part of the report is still to come. And an early report on that said you'd have to drink something like 40 cans a day to get to a dangerous level. So I'm probably still okay. But anyway, the upshot is that I quit Coke Zero cold turkey this week, and I am not happy about it. I just miss it, which is really weird when you think about it. You see the nature of addiction. I don't need it. I don't even really like it that much. So to actually be sort of sad that I can't have it, it's just remarkable. But that's addiction, right? You can get attached to things in a way that's not rational. And I'm feeling that this week. My hope is that noticing how strange that really is will inspire me to stay off it for a while, just because I don't like being addicted to anything like that. Excuse me. But we'll see. The second report is due out next week, I think. If it looks good, maybe I'll have one now and then. Maybe just scale things back a bit. we will see where things go with that. The other one, to be honest, the other down is basically this podcast. I have so much to do with the new business ideas, and I'm so excited about them. It just sort of bums me out to have to spend so much time putting this together. I'm sorry. Working at home, which I love, my work days are already pretty broken up. So it's hard to get a lot of work done during a given week. And these 2 episodes a week, the Tuesday and the Friday, take about a third of that time, which just feels like too much at times. Like now when I'm trying to get some new things built. Anyway, it's fine not to complain, just feeling a bit burdened by the pod this week. So those are my ups and downs for the week. I hope you are having a great week. Next up, our quote of the week. All right, our quote of the week. This week we'll hear from Franz Kafka. Franz Kafka was a writer in the early 20th century, like right around the turn of the century. He's known for creating sort of crazy, surreal stories with insanely complicated, bureaucratic situations. The term Kafkaesque comes from his stories. It's fascinating, too. I didn't know this until I read more about him. But he was not at all successful in his time. He was so insecure as a writer that he reportedly burned like 90% of his work. When he died, he was only 40 when he died. He was basically completely unknown as a writer. He asked in his will that his friend would burn the rest of his manuscripts. That's a crazy thing to request. His friend ignored those wishes, and so all the books he's famous for were published after his death. It's sort of heartbreaking to me to think about someone who's well known now, historic, famous. We assume he was appreciated in his time. To learn that his work and his life were basically failures, that's painful to think about. But anyway, he has a quote I like for this week, which is, "So long as you have food in your mouth, you have solved all questions for the time being." So long as you have food in your mouth, you have solved all questions for the time being. I love this quote, first for how well it illustrates basically Maslow's pyramid. You probably know the pyramid, but the idea is that we have a hierarchy of needs from basic survival at the bottom of the pyramid, moving up through social connection kind of things in the middle, and then finally self-actualization at the top. And if any of the lower level needs are not being met, whatever level we're on, we're stuck there until they are. So this quote is perfect for that. If you don't have food to eat, that is the one and only question on your mind. And as soon as you get food, basically all your questions are answered, right? But for the time being. And that's the operative part of the quote, for the time being. If you run out of food again, that question will come roaring back. If food is no longer your main question, other ones, higher ones, will emerge. So I think it's great for that. Of course, it also echoes the Inner Game framework from the Raise Your Inner Game book. In that model, if we're desperately hungry, we'll be pulled down to what we call level 1, which is our most primitive basic state. When we're there, it dramatically alters our thoughts and actions. So that's kind of interesting. But the quote, kind of on the flip side, also offers sort of a nice gratitude perspective. If you have food, that's really the question. Let's be thankful for that. And remember that beyond that, things aren't really as important as they may seem. So anyway, that is the quote for this week. Franz Kafka. So long as you have food in your mouth, you've solved all questions for the time being. All right, think about that. We'll move on to our top stories. All right, top stories. This week, I actually don't have a top story. It's been a slow, it's easy for me to say. It's been a slow news week, at least for the things I pay attention to. Feels like we're sort of waiting for the next shoe to drop, certainly in the Trump indictment world. And so I thought, well, maybe it'd be nice to just take a break from the news this week. So that's what we're going to do. No top stories this week. Enjoy the space, the freedom, the happier, more hopeful world. Next up, Inner Game Gold. All right, so these are the ideas and concepts I come back to over and over again to help me stay on track. This week, I want to think about the quote from the end of the Raise Your Inner Game book from Leo Tolstoy. The ultimate purpose in life is to serve humanity. I'm thinking about this because of the Franz Kafka story. I imagine him just sort of tortured with self-doubt, not feeling welcomed or appreciated. He never married. He had a couple of things published, like in magazines and stuff, but he was not successful. So I just imagine him feeling like he was a failure, of no value to the world, no impact. But if he reframed his purpose to simply serving the people in his life, he might have felt differently. Now, the quote says, serve humanity, as if maybe we need to try to serve all of humanity. But that's the big mistake. If we think we need to do something big and historic, we need to make our mark and be remembered, we can end up ignoring the people closest to us, which is actually about the biggest mistake we can make. It's sort of ironic that he ended up being a notable person in history because the vast majority of us, like literally almost everyone, just won't. I won't. You won't, probably, right? That's just the way life works, almost without exception. When you get right down to it, the only people we truly matter to are the ones directly in our lives, our family, our friends, our co-workers. And even in the rare cases where we do something on a bigger scale, the most important people are still those who are closest to us. And the more we can focus on them and be present with them, be connected to them, the more satisfied and happy we'll be, and the more we actually will be of service to the world. So anyway, that's our Inner Game Gold for the week. This idea, the ultimate purpose in life is to serve humanity, and not all of humanity, to serve the people in our lives. All right, next up, raise your outer game. Okay, raise your outer game, where we talk about the things we care about in our outer life, our health, our relationships, our finances. This week I want to talk about food safety because of the aspartame news being a possible carcinogen. You know, I frequently talk about things in this section that I'm not an expert in. And this is even more so than normal. I feel like I really know nothing about food, what's healthy for you and what's not. And a big part of that is because it seems like no one knows. There's something about nutrition that it just seems like we don't really know anything solid yet about what's healthy for us to eat. What we're told changes all the time and dramatically. Fat is bad. Everybody knows that. Oops, fat's good. Meat is good. Everybody eat meat. Nope, it's bad. A little wine is good. Oh no, all wine is bad. It's just crazy how hard it is to be sure about any of it. I think it's settled that organic is better, but the other things seem settled too. It seems clear that simpler, unprocessed foods are better, vegetables, locally grown, everything. But I even read something recently that certain vegetables are actually toxic in a kind of a low-grade way. You know, like all living things, they have a built-in defense mechanism that's irritating to our system. It really just seems impossible to know, and I can't quite get my head around why that would be. There are a lot of complicated things in the world that science, seems to have figured out, but for some reason, we still seem to have no idea what's actually healthy to eat. It's crazy. So not really much help to offer here. Personally, I'm persuaded that locally grown and chemical-free is the best. Less meat is better than more. I guess all things in moderation and a good variety of organic food is about the best we can do at this point. Will artificially grown meat be better? I'm open to that, actually sort of excited about it. We've been using Impossible meatballs for a while now. We like those quite a bit. I'm pretty sure Coke Zero is never going to be a health drink, but maybe we'll find a healthy artificial sweetener at some point. I hope that's the case. But my official advice at this point, I have no idea. Fast food, probably not good, though I still love a lot of it. Processed food, probably not good also. Don't love most of that. Organics, excellent. Too much of anything, not good. That's my take. Note, I'm not a doctor or a nutritionist. Obviously, this is not dietary or medical advice. Pay no attention to anything I say on the subject. All right, that's our outer game for this week. Next up, our charging station challenge. All right, our challenge for the week. Last week, we worked on a newer gratitude exercise where you imagined that you just regained some basic function and you're so grateful to have it back. I love that exercise. This week, I want you to reflect on the Inner Game Gold quote, "The ultimate purpose in life is to serve humanity." And again, not all of humanity, just to serve the people in our lives. We're not here to be famous or to do big things. If that happens, it's a bonus at best. We're here to serve the people around us. And the important shift for me is not to knock someone down or to shame them like, you'll never do anything important. It's really the opposite. It's to stop thinking that it's better or more successful or more important to do big things. The mistake we make is thinking that's the goal, to make a mark, to leave a legacy. And those things are fine, but they're not the purpose of our lives. Our purpose is to be a net positive to those around us. That's really about it. The more we can see that and really embrace it, the easier it is to do the things that actually make us feel better about ourselves and our lives. Do the people around me know how much I care about them? Are their lives better because I'm in it? Will they miss me when I'm gone? If the answer to those are yes, we have done our job. We really have. At the end of the day, that is our purpose. I really believe that. And again, the more we can own that, the better everything gets. So that's the challenge this week. Sit with that thought. Our ultimate purpose in life is to serve the people in our lives. See what it changes for you. And as always, share what you come up with in the community. I'd love to hear from you. All right, that's it for this week's Charging Station Challenge. Next up, highly recommended. So these are the things I'm thinking about right now, crazy about, checking out, books, shows, gadgets. And this week, a couple of things, early comments really, not total recommendations yet, but interesting. Kind of to continue from last week, we're still living Clarkson's Farm, watching with the whole family. Just really fun and great. I finished Breakpoint, the tennis series on Netflix. Sad to see that end, which tells you something. Looking forward to next season. I finished the John Sanford book, Extreme Prey, loved that. I'm in a new book now that is so strange. It's science fiction, which I tend to love. It's all I read when I was younger. But it's hard to find things I love now for some reason. Anyway, this book is called The Three-Body Problem. It's by a Chinese author. There's no way I'm going to pronounce his name right. Cixin Liu? Not a chance, right? It's translated into English. So just at that level, it's fascinating to get a glimpse into Chinese culture. I'm about halfway in. I can't say I recommend it to everyone at this point because it really is so strange, but it still has my attention. There seems to be some sort of alien attack pending or in process. Can't really tell yet, but it is so mind-bending. I love that kind of stuff. So if you like that too, especially there's a lot of math and physics. Well, not direct math and physics, but it's in that realm. It's worth checking out, The Three-Body Problem. On TV, there's a new season of Jack Ryan on Amazon Prime. I liked the first season of that a lot. Second was not so great. I'm 2 episodes into season 3. This one seems good so far, so cautious recommendation there. And those are my recommendations for the week. And that's it for this week's show. If you like what you heard, please do tell your friends and invite them to join us. And of course, rate and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen to pods. It helps more folks find the show and get the mental game charge we all need. If you have teenagers in sports, check out our Mental Game Starter Kit. It's a great set of resources and tools to get you started on the path, helping your child boost their mental game. That's at raiseyourinnergame.com. You scroll down to the bottom, you can learn about it and register there. All free, of course, super helpful there. If you'd like to support the show so we can keep things ad-free, please click the Buy Me a Coffee link below, and thank you for that. For more mental game goodness, please join us in our free community, the Raise Your Inner Game Charging Station. There's a link here, totally free. You'll love that. Also, if you're listening to this on audio, but you like video, we post all our episodes on our YouTube channel as well. There's a link to that in the show notes. And finally, we'll close with the same quote we talked about today. The ultimate purpose in life is to serve humanity. That's what we're doing. We're serving the people in our lives. It's super important. So keep up the good work, and we'll see you next time.